Okay, so sometimes I don't really promise on what I chose to do. Anyways, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the very first episode of 64 Sports. I promised in my return video that I was gonna try to change some things up. So now I'm going into the world of sports because why the not? Why not? Why not? Why not? I'm saying why not because why not? Anyways, I forgot what I was gonna talk about. I want to be talking about something different. I want to keep you guys interested in something completely random, but something that could still interest many of you. So, anyways, this is me recapping the team that I support for a very long time. Don't roast me, all right? But let's be real. I'm from New Orleans, so it's obvious that I support the New Orleans Saints. So, anyways, today I feel like I'm gonna recap the entire season of the New Orleans Saints for the 2020 season, the regular season. The postseason is on its way. In just a few days, the Saints will be taking on the Chicago Bears. In just a few days, that game will be happening in like a few days ahead. I don't know. By the time that I'm recording this, it's something that many people just don't know. That most people just don't really know. Season. So, anyways, the Saints 2020-21 seasons has been quite the interesting one, to say the least. And why do I say interesting? Well, because it was quite the something. But anyways, guys, this is the recap of the 2020 of the Saints 2020 NFL season. For the New Orleans Saints, bro. Oh god, man, this is gonna be going bad. This is gonna go so bad. So in total, the 2020 season for the New Orleans Saints, their final record was a surprising 12-4 record, which I'm surprised to this day. I thought it would have been another 13-3 record, or at least a 14-2, but my hopes were too high up. But with all that happening, let's just get into recap. Starting with Week 1, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady's big game debut, moving on to a different team that wasn't the Patriots. It did not go so smoothly for Tom Brady. The Saints managed to defeat the so-called sixth Super Bowl ring GOAT, and the Saints managed to defeat and jeopardized Tom Brady's debut as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, the final score being 34-23, the Saints taking the victory. Week 2, Monday Night Football against the Las Vegas Raiders, the first ever NFL game in Las Vegas. I was expecting a victory out of this one, but my hopes did not go sweet and sour as expected. The Raiders ended up taking the win. The Saints were doing not too shabby in the first half, but then managed to blow in the second half. While trying to regain some strength, it did not work out in the end. The Raiders would take the victory 24-34. Week 3, Sunday Night Football against Green Bay Packers. This is the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers versus Drew Brees. Who wouldn't want to see it? Saints fans were not allowed to be in the Superdome at the time. So, yeah, it was quite the empty crowd, to say the least. Even with that happening, the Green Bay Packers still would take the victory. The Saints, just like the game that I just mentioned, it did not go as sweet and sour as expected. It was quite the interesting match, to say the least. The Saints is kind of like the same situation. The Saints were doing good in the first half, but of course not everything did well. The final score, 30-37, the Packers taking the victory. Heading into Week 4, the Detroit Lions. This looked like an easy game. The Saints did not start off so well in that game, starting 14-0, the Lions taking the victory. But as their franchise being a joke, they lost. Being a choke of a franchise, they ended up choking that game. The final score being 35-29, the Saints taking the victory. And then our second and final Monday Night Football game of the season, the Saints going against Drew Brees' former team, the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert's Justin Herbert's debut as a starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm not too sure. I completely forgot about that. But it was before he got that haircut. So anyways, the Chargers ended up The Chargers did go a little bit interesting, but the Saints managed to clutch the win in overtime, managing to make an interesting kick by Will Lutz. The Chargers still had a shot to score a touchdown or of any sort of points, but the Saints managed to stop them manages to stop them with them taking the victory 30-27. Week 6, our bye week, so we passed that. Week 7, the Carolina Panthers, and it was quite interesting. Teddy Bridgewater's first game back in the Superdome, this time as a Carolina Panther going against his former team, but it did not give him an excuse to go to the bench of the Saints sideline. I was talking one more time with Drew Brees and Taysom Hill. I don't know, you can search that on the internet. I'm not going to edit this video. Absolutely not. The Saints taking home the victory 27-24 in a not too shabby fashion. Week 8, the Chicago Bears. This game was quite the interesting one. Nick Foles would be taking over the starting position instead of Mitchell Trubisky, because why not? Even with that happening, the Saints managed to clutch that victory. Even with a rough housing fight, it still didn't matter. The Saints would take the victory. The game will end up going to overtime. And with the Saints failing to get a touchdown, and the Bears the Saints get the ball back, kick a field goal. The rest is history. Final score 26-23. Saints taking the victory. Week 9. Our second Sunday Night Football game, our last, I believe. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers once again. This was just an obliteration, man. This game was such an obliteration from the Saints, man. The final score being 38-3. Would you believe me in that? A lot of people were speculating that the Bucs will end up winning that game, but who was wrong? Everybody, except for those who said the Saints were going to win. They were actual geniuses. Week 10, the San Francisco 49ers, a rematch from last season. You know that game, the 48-46 game. It was a good game, to say the least. This would be the start of Drew Brees getting injured once again in the regular season. Excuse me. Drew Brees would get injured with 11 fractured ribs, punctured lung, stuff like that. Jameis Winston would take over as quarterback, but even with that, it still helped out either way, because the Saints would take the victory 27-13, because remember, the 49ers have lost the Super Bowl 54. Yeah. You know how that goes for every team that loses the Super Bowl the next season. Yeah. So, with that being said, the Saints beat the defending NFC champions. Week 11, our first game against the Atlanta Falcons, 24-9. That's it. I'm like, what else do you expect? It's the Falcons we're talking about. Week 12, the Denver Broncos. The quarterback situation was quite interesting. From one quarterback getting coronavirus to pretty much every other quarterback being ineligible to play. They end up using a back... I'd forget the name, but hold on. Let me search it up. Who played? Oop, I spelled the quarterback wrong. Chris, I'm sorry, guys. I just... in week... I said week 12. Kendall Hinton. He played. It did not do anything, because then the Saints would take the victory 31-3, just the exact same score as week 9. Week 13, the second game against the Atlanta Falcons, and nothing to be said about that game. Final score being 21-16. Week 14. Jalen Hurts would take the starting role as quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Taysom Hill, who ended up becoming starter quarterback in week 11, when Drew Brees got injured, people thought Jameis was gonna take over. Nope, Taysom did. It worked out, except for week 14. Even with the Saints doing good as they should have been, they did go strong in the first half. They tried to make a comeback back in the second half, but somehow the Eagles end up taking the victory 24-21 Philadelphia. Week 15 against the toughest team in the NFL, because let's be real, the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, they were off incredible. I don't know how in the heck they did that. But either way, this fun fact, this is the only game in the regular season that was on CBS. I just had to pull that. Have you guys actually paid attention to that? Every single game of the Saints regular season for the 2020, it was all Fox. There was only one game that was on CBS. I know the Saints wildcard game is going to be on CBS, but still, I'm still a little weirded out about that. Okay. So the Kansas City Chiefs, a possible Super Bowl preview. I'm calling it a possible Super Bowl preview. You cannot blame me on that. It's a possible Super Bowl preview. Okay. I'm sorry if you say it's not, it is. However, even with Drew Brees returning that game, it still did not work out. It did go well. It did go well for the Saints. The Saints said that they did an impressive performance. They did a good performance against the Chiefs. But even with that, the Chiefs would end up taking the victory 32-29. Merry Christmas on December 25th as the Saints would take on the Minnesota Vikings, a playoff rival. They're not in the playoffs this season. Anyways, the Minnesota Vikings, even with their so-called offense, their so-called defense, or whatever, maybe their so-called defense, it did not stop Kamara to make 6 rushing touchdowns in a single game, most by any NFL player. Tied the second player to do so. He did not break the record. He tied the record. He tied the record for most rushing touchdowns in a single game. I believe it was rushing touchdowns. I think so. I think so. But with that, the Saints would take that victory 52-33, an impressive game by the Saints going against a playoff rival. And finally, Week 17, the Carolina Panthers one more time. It was horrendous. I'm sorry, it was very horrendous. The game was quite boring, honestly. With the last game of the season, the Saints would still take the victory, the final score being 33-7. The Saints, after that game, the Saints completely make an NFC South sweep. They sweep the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they sweep the Atlanta Falcons, and they sweep the Panthers. Not too many teams do that. I don't care because the Saints manages to do that. They beat the Bucs twice, they beat the Falcons twice, and they beat the Panthers twice. If the Bucs and the Saints end up meeting each other in the playoffs, I don't know what will happen, but that's what happened. So in conclusion, the Saints' final record would end up being 12-4, their final record, with winning the NFC South title for the 4th time in a row. Impressive for the Saints. However, the Saints are number 2 seed in the playoffs, because what was supposed to happen in Week 17, we needed the Saints to win, the Seahawks to win, which both those things happened, but we needed the Bears to beat Green Bay. That did not happen. The Green Bay ended up taking that win, so the Packers are number 1 in the NFC. The Saints are number 2 seed, but if the Packers and the Saints end up meeting in a championship game, it's going to be a Lambeau all the way in the north, which is going to be quite the cold of the cold. But hey, anything could happen. Anything could happen in that game. Anything. So key pieces for their upcoming wildcard game. This game will be their upcoming wildcard game. A rematch of Week 8, the Chicago Bears heading to New Orleans at the Superdome. Game will be broadcasted at 3:40 p.m. Central Time on CBS, Nickelodeon, and Amazon Prime Video. So if you're gonna watch it, good luck. Wherever you're going to watch it. I'm going to watch it on Nickelodeon. I'm sorry. I'm going to watch it on Nickelodeon. I don't care what you say. I'm watching it on Nickelodeon. So there's some key things that you have to be close attentive if you're a Saints fan. One, the Bears defense have been improving after their game against the Saints. The Bears defense have been improving. Even though they're number 7 seed, they still are pretty sharp. Their defense has been pretty sharp, but not really that consistent. The offense is whatever. Mitchell Trubisky will be starting as quarterback for that game. And It's whatever. It's going to be whatever. As for the Saints, Kamara is expected to return depending on his coronavirus situation. If the game was on Saturday, then that's a no. But since the game is on Sunday, and if Kamara goes through the whole process, and if everything is negative, Kamara will return to return to that game. All right, I lost some video things. There was a situation going on, but anyways, back to what I was talking about. So yeah, if everything goes well for Kamara, he will return to that game, the wild card game. Another key piece to pay attention to, Michael Thomas is actually expected to return for this game. As you may know, since week 1, Michael Thomas has been mostly in injury reserve. He has only been available in 3 Saints games. Other than that, he hasn't been doing much impact for the Saints, but hopefully in this wildcard game, he could prove that he still is a good wide receiver. As for everything else, I think this is going to be quite the interesting game, to be honest. If you say that it's not, I don't care. If you say that it is, perfect. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys think that the Saints will easily take the victory, then good. If you say that the Saints might not have a shot and the Bears end up stealing that victory, and for the 3rd time in a row they will lose in the playoffs at home in the Superdome, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But anyways, I'm done. Hopefully everything goes planned in the wild card game. I know I don't do the best sports coverage or anything. I mean, I like sports. I watch Saints games. I'm also expected to do Pelicans games. I'm going to recap the Pel season, depending on how that goes. But it's going to be way, a very long time for me to do that. But anyways, this has been the first episode of 64 Sports, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.